which will challenge one another to discuss movies, both new and old, with a strictly positive critical eye.
That's right. And to avoid any lazy negativity, we are making this here a drinking game.
Yes.
So, great. This is how we start our In the Heights episode. It's awesome. Okay. So to avoid any lazy negativity, we have decided that anytime we say something negative, dumb, stupid, inconsiderate about this here film, you're going to hear this sound. That means that we're buzzed. We have to drink. We hope you drink along with us too.
So pour yourselves a glass and we're going to go visit the Heights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dave's Neighborhood. All right. But before we get into it, John, let's give our people some shout outs.
Some shout outs. We have a beer sponsor because we're a drinking game podcast. His name is Carlos Barrozo. You can find him on Instagram. The handle is Barrozo Bar 2019. That is CBARROZOBAR 2019. And if you're digging the music at the beginning, middle, end, every single episode of this podcast, just head on over to soundcloud.com/Dasein-artist. And you can download all of this music for free, provided by the artist Dasein. All right, guys, let's do it. Jeff.
That was fast, man. That was just like the end of those commercials where they do all of like the risks, like high blood pressure.
Yeah, the risks.
Friends,
this is going to kill you.
That's right. That's right. All right. Well, I think we are going to do our what you've been watching and any news and anything that we want at the end of this here episode because we want to get into it. And we have a very, very, very special guest who we are so unworthy of, but we're so happy she agreed to be here on the show. John, would you like to introduce our special friend?
We have joining with us today Amy Jo Jackson, co-host of the And Almost Starring podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to the show, Amy Jo.
Thanks for having me, fellas.
Oh, please, why don't you just tell all of these listeners a little bit about yourself, your show, the And Almost Starring podcast, anything else you want to share, where we can find you? Just give yourself some shout outs here.
Sure. So my partner, Jeff, and I co-host a weekly pod called And Almost Starring, and we'll take a movie and break down the casting and kind of do some fantasy casting. And then Jeff will have done all of the research. I will be fresh to it, and he will walk me through people who were up for consideration for the film. And we talk about if that would have made it better or worse. And, we're both actors and we love movies and we love performers. So it's a very loving tribute to many films and performances. And then there's also, we'll occasionally do a real rotten movie and see if some different casting would in fact have made it not so rotten or vice versa, really.
So we would never do that.
I know. Well, it's kind of antithetical to
I want to jump in and say that this podcast was made for me. I have done many an IMDb deep dive. You have done this year some of my absolute favorite movies. This year, you've done My Cousin Vinny. You've done The Mummy. You had some guests on to do Hunchback. You did Superman, which was really interesting. You just did Raiders of the Lost Ark. You do everything from The Godfather and Cabaret to Hook and Drop Dead Gorgeous. And it is so, so exciting. I also should shout out that I was looking up what day In the Heights came out. And I was like, June 10th. I thought that was a Thursday. Movies usually come out on Fridays. So I went to playbill.com because I figured they would know. And you saw
that musicals tend to open on a Thursday.
Yes. And I saw your headshot.
Yeah.
Right.
Because you have an announcement. Can you make an announcement?
Yeah, sure. I can. Now that I had to sit on it for about a month, which was agonizing. I wrote a musical.
What?
I started writing it I started outlining it in late 2019, and I had a first draft of the libretto that I was going to have people over to read on St. Patrick's Day 2020. Oh, no. And then, we all know what happened there. So then I started writing music for it. I thought I would have someone else do the music. And then I was like, heck, kid, give it a try. So I have been offered a developmental opportunity via the National Music Theater Conference at the O'Neill, which is truly mind-numbing. It is such a big deal and a huge vote of confidence. It is. I'm very excited, and also are you sure?
Yes. Good scared. Yeah.
Yeah, good scared. But it's called Hatchetation. It is a musical, zany, anachronistic look at the life and times of the temperance activist Carrie A. Nation, who at the turn of the last century would go into bars with a hatchet and just bust shit up. And so I thought that seems ripe for musicalization. So
yeah,
she helped bring about prohibition, didn't she?
Yeah, well,
Kind of.
Kansas was a dry state at the time, or
Oh,
was
okay.
supposed to be. And so that's how she was able to go. I mean, she still got arrested a lot, but that's how she was able to go in and destroy all this property because it's like, this isn't supposed to exist. But yeah, she did help usher in a lot more oomph for the movement, even though she didn't live to see nationwide prohibition become a reality.
I
You're
just
a hater
love,
already.
I just love that.
That's so good.
I just love that Broadway legend and O'Neill Center artistic director Alexander Gemignani says these shows, the two shows, but yours and one other, define what NMTC is all about. And it's hatchetation about a notorious hatchet wielder. I think it's so great to put those two together. It's so exciting.
Yeah, congratulations. We need a congratulations like buzz noise thing, just so, because we've never
gush.
actually
We should
congratulated
gush
each
Amy
other.
Jo.
We're gonna congratulate you.
We should congratulate each other more often. Come on.
Oh, come on. I also want to throw out just a real quick. I had the honor of being on and almost starring one time, and I love
You
the
are our
gimmick.
first guest.
Thank you so much. I had a blast. Honestly, I love your show. I loved being on it. I love the gimmick that Jeff is the only one who knows. It's so much fun. So if you get to kind of play along, folks, if you're into, like Jeff and I love talking about this stuff, who do you think was also considered? Everyone who loves movies thinks about the casting, and you really do get to play along with you guys and for the last half of your show, which I think is really fun. You always have something to look forward to after learning a lot about the movie. So really, really cool. I am so glad you're here. I'm going to throw it to Jeff because, folks, we're doing musicals this week. We could not have asked for a better guest. So, Amy Jo, thank you so much for being here. Jeff, what are we doing, dude?
We're doing In the Heights. This just came out yesterday. All right. And we are going to talk about it.
Yet
and
somehow I've seen it twice.
Here. And somehow Dave has seen this twice, you son of a jerk. Actually, let's throw it to Dave really quick before I give the intro. And Dave, would you like to give Amy Jo a very, very, very quick welcome to the show? I feel like
Sure. I feel like just to get to know you, we should ask what your favorite movie is.
Oh, yeah.
This is, I'm not,
Okay.
I love
What a
so many.
ridiculous
Okay,
question.
what's
I
your
know.
current favorite? What's the movie you think of when you think, I like that?
When I'm thinking of something that I want to put on to my most recent favorite movie, it's probably Booksmart. I think that script is so
fun.
tight. It's so funny. But probably if I'm saying of all time, what's my most watched movie of all time? It's probably Clue.
Oh, so much fun. Good for you.
All right, and what's the worst movie you've ever seen?
Oh, I will just go with any Hulk Hogan vehicle. I'll go with No Holds Barred.
And of course,
I find
that
it
was a trick question. You
revolting.
now have to drink.
And there's your first buzz. Welcome,
Thing I made
welcome
in
to the
Manhattan.
show.
Oh yeah, she's gone hardcore. She's drinking a Manhattan on this show.
Yeah, 'cause
we've plastered up this week.
We don't give our guests our beer sponsors beer. Friends, let's get into In the Heights. Thanks for the preamble. We are so excited to have Amy Jo. Let's do it. So In the Heights, as John had mentioned before, a lot of us here in the musical theater. So we probably have all heard a lot of backstories about the making of In the Heights, which is truly, truly a great backstory. But we are, of course, going to be focusing on the film, which just came out Thursday, June 10th, in theaters and for a limited time on HBO Max. Although I'm sure Dave will definitely attest. Go see it in the movies, go see it in the cinema where you can get that sound, hearing a great, great, great sound that is very percussive, very, very percussive. Lot of great sounds and the streets of New York City. So if you can see it in a theater, obviously, and you feel safe, highly recommend that. This musical was written and made a star out of Lin-Manuel Miranda, who wrote this over the course of about 10 years, although we should definitely shout out very early on that for at least 4 of those, he had book writer and future Pulitzer Prize winner Quiara Alegria Hudes, who adapted the book into the script for the film. So she is the scriptwriter for this film. It was directed by John Chu, who directed, among other things, Crazy Rich Asians. And the movie is about Usnavi, the character Usnavi, a sympathetic New York bodega owner in the Washington Heights district of New York City, where Dave still lives, saves every penny every day as he imagines and sings about a better life. It is specifically about Hispanic culture in that part of the city, where it is a lot of Spanish-speaking neighborhoods and people. And it's about life, it's about culture, it's about dreams. And it's about people living up there in Washington Heights, seeing who wants to leave, who wants to stay. It's such an exciting story.
What's disappearing?
All right, Dave. Well, you can get into that in a second here. But let's go ahead and we love to start with initial reactions here. So can I go right back to Amy Jo? And Amy Jo, can you give us your initial reaction? I imagine you saw this movie in the past 24 hours. What did you think?
Indeed. I think it's like visually sumptuous. I can't believe how many dancers they had in those dance sequences. It is thrilling to watch. I think they did a brilliant job of also casting a lot of dancers of all ages and body types to really reflect what the streets of New York City look like, rather than like what we think of as a Hollywood idea of what your average person looks like. I hadn't seen the show before. I've heard
I was
all
going to
of
ask you that.
the songs. Yeah, it came out when I was like very new to New York and did not have much in the way of disposable income. So I didn't see this, but I know all of the music, and so it was very exciting to see it unfold and be like, I don't actually know what happens. So yeah, I really enjoyed it overall. I found it moving. There's some really like wonderful performances in here that I hope are star-making turns for some of these folks, and very exciting to see someone like Daphne Rubin-Vega getting like this fun, splashy role when those of us in the theater world have been obsessed with her since we were wee little bairns. So yeah, I really dug it. I thought it was really stunning, and it was a long runtime that did not feel long.
Yeah. Quick aside about Daphne Rubin-Vega, the original Mimi in Rent. She was actually, her voice was in the original production of In the Heights. They had a voiceover saying, "Oh, it's really hot out there," and they wanted like somebody who is a legend, specifically from a Spanish-speaking background. So Daphne Rubin-Vega's voice was in the Heights in the musical on Broadway in every single performance, and then here she is in the
That's film. Amazing.
John or Dave?
Dave, dude, I've been waiting to hear. I've been wanting to ask you this like all week. What was it like? First of all, if you could tell us just in general what it was like seeing it in a theater, because I don't want to speak for you, Jeff, but I'm pretty sure Amy Jo and I watched it streaming.
Correct.
Definitely had the sound turned up. Had as nice of a system here as I could. But Jeff, did you see it in the theater?
No, brand new TV and soundbar and limited amount of time.
Okay, so Dave, tell me about your experience overall, what you thought theater-wise, and I didn't know what kind of special screening it was. So what was the audience like? So, like who was invited to this thing?
The special screening was a special event they leaked for Mother's Day, basically, and it was a push to get people back to the theater. And we just happened to be lucky enough to like have a friend who just put a heap of names down the list and got tickets. He's like, "Do you want to go?" "Yeah, I want to go." And so the theater wasn't that full at that point. There was maybe 20 people in there. The movie still rocked. It was great. Like, it was a good thing. This time round, being opening, I went to the AMC in Lincoln Square in New York because the other screening was out in Jersey. And so I went to AMC Lincoln and I went into the frickin' Dolby Atmos and I sit in E and F row. And when those waves first break, you're in the ocean, dude. It is like the sound mix on this thing in a theater is the most amazing thing you've ever heard in your life. It's not Scott Pilgrim amazing, but it's still pretty damn amazing. And nice. But also I was sitting in a bunch of avid Lin-Manuel Miranda fans, so they knew all the cameos, they knew all the jokes, they knew the musical numbers they like that they cut for pacing and stuff like that from the film. Like, and everybody, even if you didn't know all that stuff, there's so many New York in-jokes there that any like New Yorker that goes and sees this is going to laugh their ass off at half the stuff that they're saying. But it's also, a lot of the jokes are like kind of transcend that. But there are definitely some stuff that it's like you only get if you have taken the A train.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Which incidentally, I left the movie theater and got on to come home, which was weird. I've actually, the stairs that he was painting on are down the road from my house.
I wanted to talk about that because this movie is about Washington Heights, and Broadway musicals are amazing, obviously. But, you know, when you're supposed to be in somebody's apartment, sometimes it's like a table and you're in somebody's apartment for set changes and everything. So to be able to actually be on location was something they insisted. And I heard a joke that Jimmy Smits said, and Jimmy Smits has fuck you money and Emmys and stuff. And yes, Jimmy Smits has sort of a cameo role that they definitely... They fleshed it out a little bit more for this. Yeah, they definitely bolstered it for the star name. But he made a comment about like joking about how Lin-Manuel Miranda and Quiara had to fight to keep this filming in Washington Heights, the fucking place that it's set. And he made a joke about how it wouldn't work in Toronto. I legitimately think the producers like considered Canada for this. Are you fucking kidding me? But what's even cooler is they insisted on it being Washington Heights, not only for all of the exteriors, but the interiors and everything, because they wanted all of the money from this film to get pumped into the economy.
I love that.
Yeah.
They refused catering from any restaurant that wasn't located in Washington Heights, New York City, for instance.
That's incredible.
Not only that, like when they go into the apartments, you can tell that's not a set, that's a Washington Heights apartment, because it has all the weirdly placed power sockets in areas you would never use on the walls and stuff. Like, it's all there.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's
A little
so
too small.
Yeah.
A little too small to comfortably film in.
That was amazing though. Like those
That shot of Usnavi
kitchens.
like waking up and like hitting the and it just basically being like a cell. I was like, this resonates.
He was living in my
there,
room that I lived in our old apartment, basically.
Mine too. I lived in that same room. Like exactly what I thought. I was like, I have lived in a room that small for years, for sure.
Yeah, I remember the camera operators were like, can we take this wall out, please?
Can we, what am I supposed to? What am I supposed to?
Yeah.
Yeah. I really appreciated this movie, and I'm glad I saw it. I too have never seen the show, so I definitely wanted to ask up front before I kind of give my 2 cents. I had also never really listened to this soundtrack all the way through. Definitely heard some of the more popular songs when the show was really happening about 10 years ago. But I didn't listen to it all the way through. How much was cut out of this? Because I did, I'm not gonna lie, I did kind of walk away at the end wondering, did they squeeze everything into that movie, or had they already cut like 30 minutes? Is this a super long musical? Is it like Hamilton?
There's like, I think 2 songs they cut out of it, possibly.
I think that's it. Yeah. And they used at least one of them for underscoring anyway. So.
Yeah, and then I don't know whether you guys noticed when he's on the phone waiting on hold for the university.
Obviously, yes.
I didn't get it the first time. I was ashamed of myself. I didn't get it the first time, but yeah, that's a
nice in-joke, not just for the Hamilton reference, but also as far as choice of song. It's just funny. It made me chuckle.
Yeah. But there's, again, like the other thing they cut was the song that I was like, we finished, and there's meant to be a reprise, and I'm like, they didn't cut that, and I'm like, that's it, I'm not moving. And yeah, for the love of God, stay to the end of the credits.
Dave saw the Paraguay reprise coming. He was like, there's no way they're cutting Paraguay.
Yeah, there's no way.
Not when Lin-Manuel is playing it. Come on.
Seriously.
And also, in my opinion, that was perfectly placed. Because like this film's a bit of a roller coaster. Like it starts off poppy and great, and everyone's pumped, and then it settles into their stories. And then you get into like a little bit of the love story, and then you get into, the fact the neighborhood's disappearing. Then you get into the big event and the tragedy of what happens, and then it starts to bring you back up when like the love story sort of resolves. But by that point, you're kind of a little bit wrung out. So if you stay to the end of the credits, you will definitely leave with a smile on your face.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, it's definitely a feel-good movie.
Yeah.
I will say...
go ahead.
Yeah, so I did enjoy this.
Here comes
Follow
John.
me, though. Here we go. Follow me. Most people, I think, who love Lin-Manuel Miranda's writing have listened to his stuff more than seen his shows physically, actually in a theater. I think a lot of us couldn't see Hamilton even if we wanted to. And I think most of us memorized, or the fans out there who, certainly my friends, certainly my ex-roommate, Jeff Ostermuller, memorized every fucking word on the soundtrack. And I think a lot of people did. So I think the only...
That's for saying that
for me or for him?
For a sneering undertone.
It's so good.
For a wiggly pointed finger.
Still weird.
It's so good.
I still think I've bumped a button when that goes off without me touching it.
All right, John.
All right, check it. I think
it.
he is so brilliant. And we could talk about the way Lin-Manuel Miranda's voice and style evolved in his improv music theater group at the bottom of the drama bookshop. I think there is something about the way he writes that lends itself perfectly, as it should, to the stage. And I don't know if it works perfectly on film. How many lyrics do you think are in this movie? And something like Hamilton, thousands and thousands and thousands. And there is a rule in film of show it, don't say it. So I think there were some moments where I did kind of feel like it was kind of pushing against the rules of cinema a little bit. It didn't bother me. I still liked the movie. I just do think I think they maybe could have cut a little bit more out of this movie, and I still would have gotten all the story I wanted. Because my favorite parts of this movie were throughout. There weren't like certain entire sequences that I loved. There were a lot of moments, and technically it's a huge achievement. I enjoyed the grounded drama in the latter half of this film, but I do think because there were so many lyrics that are important when you're on stage and you need somebody to tell you a story, literally tell me a story. That's not what we do here. And I felt like there were some times where the urgency was lacking. Let me give you a perfect example, just so you don't think I'm an asshole. Sure.
It sounded negative to me.
Sure.
Also,
when
also
he wins, when he gets
the whole movie's about stories and storytelling, but that's okay. Keep going.
I know. That's the irony. I'm just saying. And we're going to talk about this later in the week about how to adapt musicals or original musicals for film. Do they adapt well? Is there a problem with that in general? When he wins the lottery, he doesn't win it.
Whoa! This is a change.
Shut up! Spoiler alert.
This is a change for the musical, though. So this is a big one.
This is, but spoiler alerts. We're talking about a movie that came out. When he realizes he has that winning ticket, we're at hour 2 at that point. We're about 23 minutes away from the end of this movie. And I don't know about you, but I don't know the show at all. So I was coming in cold. I was like, here we go. I was feeling the momentum. And then it stops. He goes to the door and she walks in, and it's not even like they played it with urgency. So I did kind of want to ask, is that how it is in the show? Like, I feel like I think it would have dulled even more on stage. Not even because of the rules of film that I'm talking about. Was I really the only one who felt that lag for the last 30 minutes?
I would say the last bit for me, I felt the theatricality pushing its way through. Both immediately starting where you're talking about when she walks in the door.
Yes, literally.
And I was like, wait, you're not going to figure that out? The cage of two things at once? Take a walk.
Exactly.
But, I was like, okay, on stage, you're in a unit, or not a unit set, but you're in a, you have your setup. So it'd be harder to like do a scene change and, whatever. And then with the resolution, like the mechanics of the resolution felt very theatrical to me in a way that I was like, is it because I'm like so steeped in the way musicals function that I'm feeling that? Is it, and I don't know, because again, I don't really know the show. I know a lot of the score, but no, I don't think you're the only one feeling that. I totally hear what you're saying.
And I'll level. I will level with both of you a little bit, and to say that I thought it was going to be a good effect. Because you're all going to be sitting there knowing, we are going to know that he has the lottery ticket and he's not leaving. And it's going to add this element of like, bro, you're running out of time. Like, come on, you got to get that lottery ticket. You're not going to do this. That thing about nobody cashing the ticket's bullshit, right? Having said that, it took away from the scene because it's hard to follow the scene when all I'm thinking about is the lottery ticket. So I don't know if that. No.
And I don't want to take anything away from Lin-Manuel's palpable genius. I mean, this was his first show. It took him 10 years, right? But it's his first one. I think you can literally see the refinement of his style in Hamilton, even though sometimes an issue I have with music theater in general is that urgency is so important in the theater, and we talk about that so much when we're working up shows and developing shows. And then some musicals, I think when you finally begin a song, drop the urgency in specifically the verses. Sometimes the hook is fun and the chorus gets you there, but the verses will slow things down. I think you can hear in Hamilton, he learned that fucking lesson. I don't know if he actually listened to In the Heights and said, I could have done this better. But the urgency in every verse of Hamilton is staggering, right? The momentum is overwhelming. You're kind of on the edge all the time. So I don't know if I'm going to blame John Chu for this one, or if we should hold it against Lin a little bit as well. But I do think for as long as this movie is, I did start to notice myself watching it, and I started kind of thinking about the mechanics and the theatricality of the ending. Right. So, but I still appreciated the hell out of it. Everyone should see this movie. I think it's important for a lot of different reasons, and it's very entertaining.
Before this spirals into Negative City, which we said we're going to be against.
Well, no, because Lin-Manuel just sent me a thing on Twitter. Hang on, I'll just play it.
Fuck you. Yeah, that's right.
Sure. See how tight that was? Yeah.
I will say, no, I am obsessed with the musical, and they did the good job of just changing some things up a little bit, and most of them worked. Some of them, they probably, I don't know. Well, I'll think about it more in time. But initially, like, for instance, it opens with the musical opens with America. So this is the whole idea of the song America, which is brilliant. And yes, it was all done by white men a long time ago, West Side Story. But it just opens with I guess they're claves, right? It goes on.
Yeah.
And that's how this song America starts. And that's it. And then he starts.
Careful, we'll get a copyright violation.
And then, yeah, right. And then Lin walks out, and it was also his like wink to the audience, who he knew was going to be a little scared of Latin rap musicals. He was like, "It's good, it's okay. This is just fucking West Side Story. Give me a break," right? Like at the beginning, like you were okay with it when Leonard Bernstein wrote it. And so they dragged it out, and it was slow, and he was on the beach telling the kids, and I was like, "Can we get to it?" But as soon as the music started, I really did have like tears in my eyes the whole time. So I can only speak from my experience of being musical theater obsessive and having listened to this album for a long time. Even the changes, even some of the characters, the changes, it was. There were some things where I was like, really? Are they really going to do that? And so I did have to check myself a little bit, but it was very moving for me. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the casting and just a little bit more about what the show's about and see if that
the movie, not the stage play.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I know. But okay, so in this cast, we have Anthony Ramos, who was the original Philip and John Lawrence, right, in Hamilton.
Mm-hmm.
So he knew Lin, which is always great when you're lead of this, momentous thing. Also, just a reminder, John Chu directed. The writer was Quiara Hudes. So it wasn't just Lin. Lin gets all the love, but this is a very collaborative effort. So Anthony Ramos plays Usnavi. He was also Lady Gaga's best friend in A Star Is Born. So you may have recognized him from that. Corey Hawkins, who you may know from Straight Outta Compton, and he's a burgeoning star. Like he's on the brink. Juilliard grad, and he's amazing.
Yeah,
he played Usnavi's best friend, Benny. You have two faces that I had never seen before, but some hit TV shows out of there. So another like set of rising stars in Leslie Grace, who plays Nina Rosario, Melissa Barrera, who plays Vanessa. You have Jimmy Smits, as we said before, Olga Merediz, and then there is Daphne Rubin-Vega, a cameo performance by Marc Antony, who sings a song during the credits. And apparently he's very skinny. I didn't realize how skinny he was.
We all learned that watching this.
He's really I really thought like he was doing it for the role, and I was like, maybe he really is this skinny. I thought he was just playing like a poor decrepit.
I think we should check on him to make sure he's okay. If I'm being real.
Right. But the idea, so all of the music, there's a lot of words, but it's about vignettes. So even though Usnavi is the lead, it's about the neighborhood and the people closest to him, and each one of them has a song that tells their whole story pretty much, and they do a good job of being faithful to that in this film. But there are a lot of moving sequences, which some movie musicals do better than others, and this one keeps them all. So all things considered, the fact that it wasn't a train wreck is really good, because this is the kind of thing that in movies can just turn into music videos and then some preamble. Music videos and preamble.
I mean, famously, I hated Les Mis for the very reason that I love this film. And
hold on,
the movie Les Mis.
Yes, the movie Les Mis.
Yeah.
No. Fine. You're allowed to hate Les Mis on this show?
Oh, you said it. You said it in a way that was like you wanted your audience members to tell their friends that you hated Les Mis.
Yeah, tell your friends Les Mis sucks. Okay, so basically when they did that show, they could have elevated it above, and it was like filming a stage play. And this is the exact opposite. Like John Chu did this and took everything that was awesome about the musical and put it in a moving setting and built this world that you just want to live in. It's so vibrant and alive.
I think he opened it up really beautifully. In particular, the number where they're at the pool. It's just like, you can't even begin to do any of that on stage.
Yeah.
It was so inventive. It was visually stunning. And I was just like, I never want to go to a New York City pool, but count me in today, you know?
I've had a COVID test at that pool.
Nobody has ever said in New York City, I have something. So this is right after they find out they sold the lottery ticket at the bodega. They got informed that they sold the ticket, but they don't know who they sold it to. John tried to spoil the fuck out of that before. Thank you, John. But we don't know who it is. Sure. And so they said, hey, we'll tell you the numbers. Everybody meet me at the pool. It's something that's never been said in New York.
They do the song called 96,000. I'm not sure what musicals are obsessed with math about, but every single one of them seems to have a song in it that's just numbers.
It's just a number.
I mean, he just can't help himself, right? He is just this one and Hamilton are overwhelmed with references to music theater, and it's fun, right? If you're a nerd, you're going to find a lot of breadcrumbs in there.
And I just have to remind you, the legacy of this is helpful. And I know this is not a musical podcast, but he did it on purpose because he knew people were going to be scared of a Latin rap musical. This is crazy to think of a musical that was just people who are non-white. This just didn't happen, and if it did, it was so. That's all it was about. So the fact that this was just a huge hit musical that had a lot of different people, that had everybody not think about it, or if they thought about it as soon as the story started, they didn't anymore. So to have references to, ooh, let's take the 8 train, which in this movie, they winked to the camera because that's literally what it was in the musical. It was to all the purists, oh, Broadway. And he was like, guys, where are you going to take the 8 train to? Like, we're in the 8 train too. Go fuck yourself.
I've never been above 96th Street joke. Yeah.
And, and of course it was tourists.
That's Everyman. That's you.
Oh my gosh, it was so fun. Can we talk about the characters?
Yeah.
Amy Jo, you are a dialect coach, you're an acting coach, and
Correct.
you didn't know the Broadway show, so I will shut my fucking mouth. Correct. What did you think? Characters? Did any characters stand out? Any performances that really drew you in?
My favorite number was the Abuela's number.
Me too. I
mean,
that's a change from the show. They moved it. It's good.
Yes, I did. My partner Jeff, Jeff Ronan, was telling me that he's like, oh, this used to be blah 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 blah. I thought it was spectacularly filmed and extremely moving, and then just like stunningly performed. I have a couple of friends who were dancers in some of these sequences, and one of them just posted on Instagram today that because she was in that number as well as a couple of others, and she was saying their first day of rehearsal, they asked the actress, like, could you sing this a cappella while we're like staging it? And so she just like sang the number a cappella, and apparently they were like, everyone was crying. I was like, yes, obviously.
Can you ask them what those lights were they were using that tunnel? Because I walked down that tunnel and it don't look like that.
I don't know that she'd know. She's like an incredible dancer, but I don't know that she would know. Well, I don't even know enough lights to be able to make a joke here. But I can see what she took pictures of. But yeah.
Because I'm not sure if they painted them out or if they were actually strips on the ground, but it looked amazing and
it looked remarkable.
Yeah.
The way they shot New York City and this neighborhood and these humans and made everyone just look incredible was just really phenomenal.
I'm not kidding. I welled up a little bit when they went up the hill and then came up, and it's just the park in front of the bridge, and it's like, because I walk 2 blocks, I can see that thing, and it's a thing. It's a big statement to anyone who lives in like that area. Like, it's a constant backdrop. Was there a single character you did not find lovable and charming and full of personality?
Dave's hand is on that buzzer.
No, I'm not kidding. Every single, in my opinion, every single character of this thing was charming and fun, and even Jimmy Smits when he was being a jerk. It was still you like him.
Yeah. And you see that it's based in love for his daughter, and also in like everything he's trying to do for the legacy of his family. Like, it's all really couched in character and not just like, wow, this guy's unlikable. No, I think they cast the shit out of it,
Yeah. It's even a look or a movement or anything. Like,
I would love to be
cast.
I know we're talking about the movie, but I would have loved to have been in the room when they were writing this, when they started acknowledging, like, so we're not going to have an antagonist.
You want to be in the room where it happened.
Dave, why is my phone so shitty? Why can't I get to it in time? Buzz. Yeah, okay.
For them to, I wonder what it felt like writing a story without an antagonist. Because like they don't have one in here. The society, like the world is pushing down on them. The odds are they're very cleanly established. You know what they're up against, but it's not a who specifically.
No, New York.
I thought that was interesting.
New York has an age-old antagonist. It's called gentrification.
Mm-hmm.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
like they clearly deal with the issues.
Yeah.
Patrick
Page kind of represents it in a way, but we barely get any of him, which I appreciate that we got a little cameo from Patrick Page, and he was like, "Gotta get out of here with my deep voice and my white hair."
And he filmed this.
Was he the guy buying the business?
Yeah. Oh, do you not know who Patrick Page is? He's a legendary stage actor, Tony nominated. I don't.
Who is he? What show is he on? Give it to me.
He's in Hadestown right now.
Yeah.
But
he
has done, if you look him up, you'll be stunned because he's
Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark, John, get out of here.
The only one who knew what show he was in, and he's like, I'm going to have a good time.
He can sing like mad and charges $9 for everything.
Nice. Good for that guy.
It's back to the characters. I will be honest, I was worried about one character. I was worried about
character
one
or
really
actor?
Okay, actor. I was worried about Corey Hawkins as Benny, because this role is written to be very scrappy, and it's supposed to be you're not good enough for my daughter, which makes Kevin Rosario, aka Jimmy Smits, a villain of sorts in this show, because he is in the way of Benny, but also in the way, in a sense, of Nina and what she wants to do. She's afraid of him, so he becomes this towering figure. And in this, they made him very likable, which is fine. But I was worried about Corey Hawkins because he was very smooth. He was very attractive. He was very obviously successful in the future, if not now. Like he seemed like an easy case. Whereas Chris Jackson very notoriously was scrappy. You know, he was like not dressed very well, didn't talk very well. Like it was that. And it was like he really had to fight in every single performance, I imagine, for that. And Corey Hawkins fucking wins you over, man. He is so good. That sequence where he's dancing on the side of a building, which anybody who lives in New York, you know, there's no space in New York. And you're like, yeah, there is. It's just above you.
You know, well,
we literally sell the space above our buildings. You know, the airplane rights. So they dance on the side of the buildings.
I want to know who came up with that, because like, was it a cinematography decision? Was it directing? Was it written that way? Because that shot could have just as easily been done on a rooftop and still been okay, but they didn't. They went full magical, let's tilt your world sideways. And
That's really lovely.
Just to come back to being in the theater, when you're sitting in row E in a Dolby Vision 60-foot screen and that screen tilts, you hold on to your damn seat. So
well, and we say all the time about, I didn't mean to take over this episode here, but we talk on this podcast all the time, when it's a musical, it's always stylized. Musical is never naturalism. Les Mis every musical that's tried to be 100% naturalistic failed. We're talking about Singing in the Rain next week, people. You want to talk about naturalism. But this, it's just the right. So whatever you say about, you know, plot and movement in too many words, fine, but it is just the right amount of stylization. So in that sequence, for instance, it kind of comes late to introduce something so quirky like that. Like even La La Land kind of eases it in earlier.
Yeah, I don't know if it was seamless, to be honest with you.
But it was effective for your first watch.
It came really late in the movie.
They have the whole sequence though where Vanessa is like dancing through fabric, you know. True. Isn't that before that? That feels extremely high. I've personally never seen that on the streets of New York.
I really wanted that fabric to be real. You talking about at the end of her song when they drop fabric from the rooftops?
Yes.
Why didn't they do that for real? They could have done that. I thought that was like, it kind of pulled me out of it a little bit. I was like, all right, that's CGI. There was also the moment where Benny is God damn it. I wrote this down. I was going to try to remember, but he's talking about something, and out of nowhere they start making dollar signs with like,
that's in 96,000. I like that.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, I don't know if that was necessary for me. I do think
choices. You know, you got to make some decisions.
You got to make choices. Sure. I guess I'm not surprised that the director of Crazy Rich Asians that can make anything look like the most beautiful, splendid place of all time. There is some. I think there is a piece of me that would love to have seen a slightly more grounded version of this. All these people are fucking gorgeous. They're like the most attractive people I've ever seen in my whole life. And I know that their problems in the show as characters are not rooted in their look. So I know it's not like inherently a problem to do that. But like you said about Benny, I think I agree with that. And Anthony Ramos, he's supposed to be kind of a loser. I can kind of imagine Lin playing.
He's arguably a lot more attractive than Lin-Manuel.
I mean, a lot more attractive, right? Yeah.
But Lin-Manuel's not
Lin
like has a sex symbol,
yes,
you know?
Lin is not charismatic. Like when you listen to him talk and stuff, he's that's not a disrespectful thing. He's just
Lin is charismatic. That's why he overcomes. Wait, what? That's
I don't know if I would say
In the Heights happened because Lin is charismatic.
I would say Lin is more charismatic than he is a good actor, and that's not, Lin is a fine actor. Right. But I don't think he's a great actor.
Sure.
But I think he has more charisma than like great chops, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah,
yeah, I do know that. I do think they did maybe a little bit too much of that thing that I think contemporary musicals do love to do on stage and in movie musical versions, where everything is really shiny, everybody's really good looking, and I think you sacrifice some realism there. I do. I don't know. I just feel like you kind of have to just put on your cap for a second. We're going into a world where everybody looks like this, and their problems must stem from something other than the fact that they're all 10s. They're just walking around. They're just fucking 10s talking about all their problems. And yeah, the Benny is a perfect example. I don't know if I ever bought that there was, being someone who didn't know the show, I didn't think for 1 second that he was anything but a great match for her. I thought he was supposed to be respected, even though he works for her father. I didn't think there was anything wrong with Benny. So as much as I loved that actor in the role, I was kind of like, what's the problem here? What obstacles is he providing for himself and the characters around him?
They deliberately shifted his perspective so that he was his thing was he was losing his job, and he was watching, like he was on the inside of watching the cab company get sold off and like losing the job that he prized so much. So there was like a little internal struggle for that. They kind of shifted him around a little bit. I'm not.
Yeah, I didn't feel like it was
it's possible that
supposed to be.
Yeah, they didn't know what they were going to do with Benny. Possibly.
You think they're not sure?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, if that's probably the only criticism I could come up with in the entire movie. I love this film. I'm going to watch it, 16 more times before it disappears off streaming.
I will too. Yeah. I would love to. I actually really loved what Nina and what they did, and that's tricky because they made her, a fashion designer who like goes to take lunch on 4th Street.
Vanessa.
And, like,
that's not new. Oh wait, that's not in the musical.
Vanessa, you're right. I'm sorry. I mean, no, she just drops out of Stanford, but they don't. Oh, wait, hold on.
I think you're
conflating. You're conflating. Yeah.
Nina drops out of Stanford and then is just sort of stuck. So no, there's nothing there. And then Vanessa, I mean, she certainly doesn't have those kinds of sequences where she's like going and crafting and such. Not that I remember. I don't think so. Maybe she's just always on the phone. She's always on the phone. She never actually goes anywhere, so we never actually see that. So this is the whole dreamer idea. Like we only know who they are by what they're saying, by their dreams. We don't actually see how achievable any of this is for any of the characters. So in the movie, big picture though, is it's interesting to see these people because all of their dreams actually seem achievable in this movie. And that is an update. And actually that does work for me in here. But yes, in certain circumstances, it's like...
The dreamer
okay, just give it a little time, people. Just keep working. You're going to be okay.
The dreamer thing is also the closest.
It feels impossible.
The closest they got to the show don't tell thing.
Yeah, I would say.
And while I agree with that, I can't help. I'm not all right. I guess I was kind of hoping they were going to take more advantage of the two truly like dreamy sequences in this film. I think are the best parts about the film. I love when definitely. Olga Merediz's number for the abuela when she's passing, that worked for me beautifully. I loved it. I'm not sure if it's in the show in the exact same way. You said they moved it into place.
Yeah.
I thought that was great. I also thought that, there was another kind of dreamy sequence that worked really well. I guess I was kind of anticipating them trying to play with the structure of musicals, the way that you might elevate sequences at the beginning of a show if you're literally talking about dreams, and the show's message is to resolve those dreams into what your reality actually is, to accept that. I was kind of hoping they would play with that a little bit more with the actual cinema, the way they were making this movie. And I think they pushed against that back and forth. I can't even find a sequence to it. Like I felt like it was a little bit all over the place. So I'm just not sure they took advantage of as much as they could have. And I don't know what John Chu's background is, but I don't know. I'm probably not going to watch this 60 more times. I do think this is an important film. I think everybody should watch it, and I'm glad I watched it. But
that's something you said about 30 seconds ago.
I would love to get into the big change for the musical. I know I keep saying that, but speaking of dreams and dreamers, they do make this about the dreamers, the undocumented.
That was the one piece of modernization they did.
And sort of that fucked me up. I thought
that's not in the show. That's not in the show.
How could it be? Because
the show was written 20 years ago. No,
it was on Broadway. Long before this was a discussion. Can I also say I loved that kid who played Sonny?
Yeah,
he was great. Yeah,
so
he was
charming.
Good.
He's like 16 now. So and this was
in the
like
pool
2 years ago.
The pool number, that was the other dreamy kind of thing I was talking about. Yeah, he was so good. That moment probably got me the hardest when he finally realizes he can't go to college.
To see this like young, like swaggering kid to then be so deflated, like, and have an actor who is talk about charisma, like to have a kid who is like this charismatic and fun to watch, just like have the blood drain out of his face that. It was just like really effective.
That really hit. And also jumping back to the scenes with the lawyer that you said kind of dragged for you, they're not for you. They're going to resonate with anyone who's ever sat down with a lawyer facing down the U.S. Immigration Department.
I thought about that. Dave, you just got...
Yeah. Trust me, that was realistic.
I think the two things that really...
And I had it easy.
Yeah. Well, the two things... It took time for you, obviously. So when they said this takes 5 years...
like 18 months or something.
Yeah. So the two things that really fucked me up were just the switch to the Dreamers, and then I think movies, even no matter what you say about all the stuff we're saying, and I hear it, when something says like, how do you pay Sonny? I pay him in cash. Do you ever think about why? And I'm sitting there going, why do they? No, what's the reason? And I let it go.
Oh, see, I immediately knew what he meant. Yeah.
And I should have, and maybe it's just because I guessed wrong or whatever. I was like, what do you mean? And then I was like, oh fuck, my God, it just fucked me up so much. That, and then I forgot the other one. I forgot the other thing that really fucked me up.
Look, I'm glad you said that though, because
I was gonna say the Carnaval de Barrio, which is great in the musical, but in the musical we get it. It's all about Hispanic pride. But to see this neighborhood and to see all of the different flags and to see everybody dancing, you have a Cuban flag, which that hits differently now than it did 10 years ago, right? You have a Cuban flag, a Mexican flag, which does that in the show. It's mostly Puerto Rico and Dominican Republic. You see a Brazilian flag, you see all these flags, and you're like, oh fuck yeah. And then somebody like Sonny can't go to college. Go fuck yourself, everybody. Like, God, it was really, those two things really messed me up. That was good.
I fucking loved it. I'm glad you said that, because I think it's important that, we're living in this age. My friend and I were talking about this the other night, where like macro diversification, like sitcoms where every color of the rainbow is in there. I think these are more important. Really deep dives into stories about cultures. So we're not trying to say that everything is fine and we all get along. We're trying to say, no, there are individual aspects, and this is how you're going to learn about it. And so I know I was being kind of critical, but like, I'm so happy that I watched this, and I hope they make millions more of these kinds of movies so that I can learn more about a culture that I lived in the city and I did not know the ins and outs of this culture. I had friends who lived around Dave, who lived in this fucking neighborhood, and I don't feel like I understood this culture. So thank you.
What I think is also different about this versus like, we're going to do a show where, yes, we're going to have, just a very colorful array of people, but they all can be anybody. And like, that's also important, but like to have something like this, that there's nothing cosmetic about it. Like, it is not just something so that is like virtue signaling. It is like, no, this is the point. This is the point, and this is the story we're telling. That our melting pot is a much smaller, more unique melting pot as a microcosm of the entire immigrant experience. Yeah, and this is like a Latinx identity. And I totally agree that it's like really exciting to see that.
To make it, because then it becomes personal. Jeff, I felt that way. You said I kind of let go the line about why do you always pay him in cash? I think, just speculating here, but I bet there are a lot of fucking privileged audience members out there, myself included, who hear the number 96,000 and think that's not enough to live comfortably in New York City anywhere. And, you have to adjust, and you're going to grapple with these things when you leave the theater or, in the moment, and then they're going to turn it around because it's well written, and you're going to have to grapple with it at the end when you find emotional resolutions with these characters. I think that's always going to be more beneficial. So I'm glad they didn't, whatever word we want to use for try to bring other people into the show and try to kind of do that thing. I'm glad they put up the barriers and made this a show about Hispanic and Latin culture. I thought that was brave.
I've often said like the one thing that will fix a lot of people's prejudice and fear is if they travel and immerse themselves in other cultures. And I feel like this is perfect for people who can't travel or don't want to travel. Go to the movies, experience this whole other culture, and fall in love with it.
This is like escapism, isn't it? Like I made that comment about maybe it could have been a little bit more grounded for me, but obviously they weren't trying to do that. No. They wanted to make like an escapist thing so that you can go on this dream ride with them and
experience joy rather than it just purely being all about like, it's really hard for undocumented folks. Like that's definitely a note that they're like, and they hit it hard, and you're like, oh my guts, my heart, but it's not, it's celebratory. It is a joyful film and a joyful experience of these cultures and these people. And I do think that's what a lot of folks have been saying is it's like, that's just as important to normalize, if not more so,
Exactly.
John Chu in interviews has said that he considers this movie a vaccination for the soul.
Oh yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah.
That speech, that little, not speech, but the couple verses that Usnavi's character basically says to the young guy, what's his name? What's the young guy's name? Sonny. And he's like, so what if it's the last night? What are you going to do? What if this is the very last night? I feel like it all kind of built to that moment for me. And I feel like it's just so cathartic that, I don't know if you have a heart if you're not going to feel something around that time of this movie.
Dude, people around me were alternating laughing and ugly crying in the dark. That's what it sounded like in the dark anyway.
That
But
feels
yeah,
right.
it was yeah, there were tissues going, there were noses blowing, and then they were laughing 5 seconds later. It was, yeah, everyone had a great time in the theater when I was watching this.
Can we end with a round of high notes? Can somebody just say like a great thing about the film, and then we can wrap it up there? Something that was your favorite moments, cameo, anything that we missed, any meat on the bones, to end on a positive note. Anybody ready to go first? I see John shaking his head. Amy, jump in.
I will jump. I mean, it's kind of going back to what I said before, but I will narrow it down to specifically the moment in Paciencia y Fe where she's on the train and she's singing, and it's contemporary, and then it switches to suddenly they're all in those beige outfits.
In
We're
the
in
flicker
Cuba.
of a light. Done. Yeah.
I mean, that's like.
Ugh.
That's like what you go to the movies for, right? Because
Movie
even with
magic,
like the magic of magnets and crazy quick changes on stage, you can't do that, but you can do it on camera. And I was like, this is a breathtaking way of not distracting from what that actress was doing and the, but like enhancing and helping her to more vividly tell this story. I found it beautiful and devastating.
And that's the gush alarm.
I'm gushing Amy Jo for the.
You know what? It's worth gushing about. It's worth it.
It is worth gushing about.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I don't think I have to say anything more about it, but without a doubt, that was the high point of this movie for me. I was transported. It moved me. It was surprising. It was unpredictable in a good way.
Sorry, I didn't mean to do it again. But there you go. Yeah, that's not an Oscar. It's not an Oscar playoff today. Usually it is, but it's not today. I'm sorry, guys.
I mean, I'd have to say
that number and her. She was my favorite actor in this movie, by the way. I loved her. I loved her character. She was the high point for me.
Woo.
Yeah. I think my favorite part of this movie would have to be from the first crash of waves to I'm home.
So the whole
Jesus.
movie, you asshole.
So the
He
film?
fucking loves this movie. You know what,
Yeah.
Dave?
Right there you go. Yeah. Okay.
It's the first time anyone's got gushed for 5 seconds worth of talking.
Yeah.
You know what? Fuck you. You just-
It was amazing to me. It just everything resonated in the right way. I love the food. I love the culture. Everything sat.
That's
right
good
with me
because
about
you live
this.
in that fucking neighborhood.
Yeah.
So I'm glad
I now understand why all these fucking fireworks keep going off.
now you get it.
I have a lot. I would say I want to give a shout out for all of the women, many different body types represented in this were so strong. And I remember seeing that in the show. It's just like everybody's so fucking strong. Like, it's like everybody can dance and move and is powerful and can beat the shit out of me and out, like for sure. And I just think that was so cool. Definitely shout out to Vanessa. It was awesome. But I think for me, the Chris Jackson
Jeff's benchmark for choreography is can they beat me up?
Can they kick my ass in an alley?
I'm just saying, I don't see that in American choreography. We're going to talk about Singing in the Rain. As amazing as everybody is, it's a little dainty. In this, it's like, it's
Debbie
fierce.
Reynolds isn't gonna. What's she gonna take off a tap shoe and hit you over the head?
We're
Yeah,
not
that's
there
for you.
yet.
That's
That's
for you.
for me.
Preemptive buzz,
How
you
is that for
fucking
me?
cunt.
I didn't
Yeah,
rip on Debbie
That's a
Reynolds.
buzz for the
Okay.
next show. There you go.
Okay, that's a buzz for the next show. But my highlight is Chris Jackson as the Mr. Softy guy.
Oh yeah.
To
Yeah, that was
Lin-Manuel.
fun.
The way. So Chris Jackson, the original Benny, George Washington, and Hamilton. He plays Mr. Softy to Lin-Manuel Miranda's Piragua guy, who are arch enemies. The way Chris Jackson is counting money while staring at Lin-Manuel Miranda is just like it's
Sexual.
paprika on an
It was,
egg salad.
I was
It
like,
is
what is
like-
happening between these two? I was like, there's something
I
real
thought it
below the
was so great.
surface.
And then Dave's other favorite part of the show, he said, "I'm home." You didn't mention the after credit scene that you also loved, so I guess that was a code to your favorite part of the movie. But then to see
That was
that
a
at the end is
necessary
really
part of the movie.
All right. Well, I think we put all the meat on the bone. So thank you. That was In the Heights. We are now going to do our What You've Been Watching segment. So friends, we just did a lot here of In the Heights, but let's give the people some recommendations. Why don't we keep it quick? Can we start with Amy Jo? Amy Jo, anything that you would recommend? You had a busy week, but anything else going on that you would recommend?
I am. So here's the deal. I am very slow to watch television, so I'm very far behind, but I'm working my way through the new Perry Mason, and it's excellent.
Oh,
So
Excellent.
I just say, hey, if you like all that kind of stuff and good acting and beautifully shot television,
Reese.
hop along. If
Sadly,
you like looking at Matthew Reese, get in there.
sadly, Tatiana Maslany won't be back. She's moved over to Marvel.
Oh.
Well, I haven't
no,
gotten to the
She-Hulk?
end. She could die for all I know,
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
guess.
Yeah,
that's
don't say
how
that,
it
Dave.
does.
I don't know what happens at the end, but yeah, she's.
Dave, anything you've been watching this week? Been a short week here.
Obviously Loki started this week, so I caught that.
Oh, yeah, sure.
I'm gonna wait till the next episode to weigh in on how that's going.
I saw.
Leave it with an ellipses, Dave. Leave it with a dot.
Just quickly as well. One thing I saw as well when I went to the cinema was the trailer for the Aretha Franklin biopic. Respect.
Oh my God! Yeah.
Holy hell! Like I'm raving about a trailer. Like that,
and the trailer opens. Yeah. Let's shout out our theater people. The trailer opens with Audra McDonald singing.
Blessings.
But then, of course, it's Jennifer Hudson plays Aretha Franklin. Well, I've been drinking.
Yeah, look that one up on YouTube. You can also go to Love of Cinema on YouTube. We're there as well. But yeah, look up the Respect trailer and have a look at that.
Oh yeah,
thanks, Dave. John,
I saw two I think important things this week. First was
4 days, John. What the hell?
Including our 2 movies. That's 4. Come on. I saw Human Nature, which is a documentary about CRISPR technology that's on Netflix. Anyone who's interested in medical science and where it's going, and kind of wrapping in the messenger RNA stuff with where we're at. No, this is really important stuff. It's going to change everything, and we are really looking it in the face. This is like next level landing on the moon shit. Check that out. And I finally watched Dreamland: The Burning of Black Wall Street, which I think was aired on CNN last week to talk about the Tulsa massacre. It was produced by LeBron James and Maverick Carter. It's excellent. There is an aspect to it that they cover that isn't covered in some of the other the PBS thing and some of the other podcasts that have been doing a lot of deep dives on it. Definitely recommend it. It's an hour 40 something. So it's like a feature length, but it's worth it. It's worth it.
I watched Class Action Park on HBO Max. Any of you are still listening to this, I'm from New Jersey. I'm not ashamed of that.
Yeah.
You obviously didn't go to the park because you still have all your limbs.
This is a water park from North Jersey, late 70s to early 90s. That was so dangerous that people went to get hurt so that they could brag about getting a welt at Class Action Park. People did die. So it is weird. Dude, it's like the Wolf of Wall Street, watching something where you're like, wait, I shouldn't be laughing at this. Is people actually died. Like people literally flew off of rides into rocks.
I'm from Australia, and even I knew what Action Park was. That thing is famous.
I know. Vernon Valley. For me, it was always Vernon Valley Great Gorge because that's what it became after they closed. And I was a little young for my parents to just let me go for the day to a place where a water slide has a flip. You're not harnessed in. Everybody is a different body size and weight. You're not strapped in. How is there a flip? There's no way that everybody does it the same way. People lost teeth on the flip, and the teeth were lodged into the ride so that the next person got cut on the person's teeth from before. This place was a nightmare. Wow. And it only can happen in North Jersey.
How did Bruce Springsteen not write a song about this place?
Class Action Park, HBO Max.
It's why I got HBO Max. It's to watch that. I'm not kidding.
So funny. Oh my gosh.
Was it worth it?
Yes.
With that, thank you, Amy Jo, for being here. Amy Jo is going to stick around, and we are going to start recording right now our Singing in the Rain podcast, which is part of our Should Have Seen It By Now, because I, despite having a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree in music theater, have never seen potentially the greatest movie musical of all time, Singing in the Rain, which is also available on HBO Max. Thank you so much, film fans, for joining us. We will see you this week. Have a great rest of your day or night.